Imagine being connected soul to soul with like the person you love most in the world. You share thoughts, you share strength, you're, never truly alone. But then imagine realizing that every single time they say, I love you in your mind, every time you reach out for their warmth, they are literally physically poisoning your soul.
Yeah, that is a terrifying thought.
Right. And today, for this deep dive, we are taking that ultimate fantasy romance trope, the unbreakable magical bond between two lovers, and we're analyzing a theory that turns it into a lethal, high-voltage catastrophe.
And we are pulling our insights today from a really brilliant piece of literary analysis. It was posted on a blog called Hellion's BookNook.
Oh, I love their stuff.
Yeah, they do great work. The post is titled The Quad Bond Curse, Violet's Link to the Darkness, and it focuses on the Empyrean fantasy series. But we're not going to be talking about a love story today.
Not at all.
No, the author of this analysis really demands that we look at the narrative not as a romance, but as a structural magical crisis. What's fascinating here is that the massive revelation in the series, the fact that the male lead, Xaden Rierson, is secretly wielding dark magic, well, it fundamentally alters the physical architecture of his connection to the protagonist, Violet Sorrengail.
Exactly. And for anyone listening, whether you're a massive fan of the Empyrean series or just, someone who loves dissecting how authors build and subvert magic systems, this theory just completely flips the script on the character dynamics.
It really does.
It takes every shared look, every telepathic conversation, every moment of shared power between these characters and injects it with this creeping existential dread. So we're going to map out exactly how this specific magical connection operates mechanically.
Right, because before we can understand the danger, we really have to strip away the romantic lens completely. We need to look at the mechanics of how human riders and massive dragons share power in this universe.
Which is usually a pretty specific process, right?
Yeah, normally a human cannot wield magic safely on their own. They require a dragon to act as like a sort of organic transformer.
Okay, that makes sense.
The dragon pulls raw magic from the earth, steps that power down into a manageable, purified voltage, and then passes it through a psychic bond to their human rider.
It's a beautiful system when it works.
Yeah.
But the setup between our main characters is a huge anomaly. The Hellion's BookNook analysis actually calls it a quad bond.
A quad bond, yes.
Yeah, because it's not just one rider and one dragon. It is a four-part, rigid structure. You have Xaden, who is bonded to his dragon, Scalo.
Right.
And then you have the dragons themselves. Scale is mated to another dragon named Tern. And finally, Tern is bonded to his human rider, Violet. Okay, let's unpack this. Mechanically, we are looking at a straight, unbroken line of magical connectivity linking four distinct entities.
Exactly. And think about the nature of those connections. A bond between a human and a dragon is already an incredibly thick conduit of energy. But a mating bond between two dragons, that is a soul-deep merging of ancient, colossal life forces. It is the magical equivalent of a massive, unshielded, high-voltage transmission line connecting Ska and Tern.
So it feels like a daisy chain of heavy-duty extension cords, all plugged into one another across this massive distance.
I like that.
Yeah, like you plug Xaden into the wall, the current flows up the cord into Skyle. It arcs across the massive transmission line of the mating bond to Tern. And the appliance at the very end of the line that receives the current is Violet.
That's a good way to picture it, but let's modify that analogy slightly, because extension cords just pass static electricity, and you were thinking of it a bit too cleanly.
Okay, how so?
Well, the current we are dealing with here is not dead energy. The source material establishes that power in this quad bond flows in multiple directions.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, Tern can pull power from Skal if he needs it, and Violet can draw on Tern. It is a fully open, unregulated grid.
So it's not just a one-way street?
Exactly. If you introduce a massive power surge or a corrupted current at any point in that system, there are no circuit breakers to stop it from traveling down the line.
Which brings us directly to the terrifying reality of what Xaden has done. Because he has become Venom.
Right.
And for you listening, understanding what Venom means in this lore is just absolutely crucial. Because it completely breaks the rules of the power grid we just mapped out.
It shatters them.
Yeah, a Venom is a magic user who bypasses the dragon entirely. They don't wait for a dragon to purify the magic and step it down.
Yeah.
They reach out and rip power directly from the earth themselves.
And the books are very specific about how that feels and what it does. Drawing magic directly from the earth without a dragon as a filter is literally an act of theft.
It's unnatural.
Totally. It creates a dark, starving hunger within the user. It is not just a different flavor of spellcasting. The literary analysis emphasizes a specific rule from the text.
Which is?
In this universe, corruption is not a personal affliction.
Right, it's a contagion.
Yes, it is an active, hungry rot.
God, if we plug that hungry rot into our electrical grid, the implications are horrifying. Xaden isn't just dealing with a personal moral failing here. He's plugged directly into Sagal.
He is.
Every time he pulls that tainted, starving energy from the earth, that contagion travels up the wire into his dragon. And because Scale has that massive, unshielded, high-voltage mating bond with Tarn, the corruption has a wide-open superhighway directly into Tarn's mind and soul.
Which means the contagion is inevitably flowing straight to the end of the line.
To Violet.
Yes, to Violet. The author of the post uses a brilliant mechanical metaphor here, referring to Violet as the grounding wire. Because she is at the absolute terminus of this quad bond, she is absorbing the overflow.
Oh.
Every surge of that venin hunger, every bit of tainted power Xaden recklessly pulls into himself, finds a pathway down the daisy chain and attempts to earth itself out through Violet's soul.
She is essentially standing barefoot in a puddle, holding a live wire. Every single telepathic conversation they have isn't romantic anymore. It is her inadvertently opening the circuit and letting that dark current flow into her system.
It really changes how you view their interactions.
It totally does. She could be slowly accumulating this toxic charge without even realizing it. But we have to look at what happens when that circuit is actively drawing power. Right?
Yes. The analysis dedicates a fascinating section to the conduit effect. We have established Violet as the grounding wire, but Violet is not a passive entity.
Absolutely not.
Human writers in this universe manifest specific magical abilities called signets, which are based on their personality and their dragon's power. And Violet's signet is not subtle.
No, she doesn't read minds or turn invisible. She wields pure, raw, unfiltered power, which typically manifests as literal lightning. I mean, she is a walking electrical storm.
Exactly the point. So the post asks a critical question regarding the physics of fantasy magic systems. If Violet is the conduit at the end of a corrupted grid, what does her specific high-energy signet do to the venin contagion?
Okay, this is such a good question.
Yeah, it really makes you think. We have two opposing mechanical theories to consider here regarding how power filters work.
Let's look at the optimistic one first.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of lore, raw elemental power, especially lightning and fire, is a purifying force. If we treat her power like a surge protector, maybe she is actually saving the grid.
That would be the hope.
Right, so every time the venin paint tries to creep down the bond into Taryn or into her, her sheer raw power acts as a high-voltage filter, instantly incinerating the corruption before it can take root. She's just burning out the bad current.
But look at the actual physics of a lightning rod. A lightning rod does not repel a storm. It attracts the strike by providing the path of least resistance to the ground. Yeah. Venin magic is defined entirely by its insatiable hunger. It drains the earth, it drains other magic users. It is an empty vacuum constantly seeking a power source to consume.
Wait, so if venin magic is a starving vacuum, and Zegna is connected through an open grid to Violet, and Violet is basically a functioning nuclear reactor of pure, raw magic.
You see where this is going.
She isn't acting as a surge protector, she is acting as bait.
Precisely.
Her massive power reserves are a giant, glowing target for that hunger. Every time she channels her lightning, she might be creating a massive gravitational pull, dragging the venin contagion down the wire and into her own mind faster than it would travel on its own.
It creates an agonizing tension in the story. Her greatest strength, the raw power she uses to physically survive battles, might be the exact mechanism accelerating the spiritual corruption of her own soul.
That is so bleak.
It is. And if she cannot filter this current, if the contagion is moving down the line unchecked and accumulating, well, we move away from abstract magical theory and into lethal physical consequences.
Because in this system, the physical stakes are absolute. The dragons are the linchpin of the grid. If the current overwhelms them, everything collapses. We need to talk about what the post calls the mating cost.
The rules governing dragons in this universe are severe. The mating bond between Scale and Tarn isn't just an emotional attachment, they share a life force.
Right.
If one of them dies, the shockwaves of that severed bond instantly kill the other.
And the rules for human riders are just as brutal. If a dragon dies, The human bonded to them dies. The psychic backlash simply stops their heart.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you start to see the terrifying domino effect proposed by the Hellion's BookNook post. Let's follow the circuit failure all the way down.
Okay, let's do it.
Xedan's corruption is flowing into Skyle. If that dark magic acts as a slow poison and eventually proves too toxic, killing Skyle.
Xedan doesn't just lose his dragon. Skyle's death instantly kills Tarn, and Tarn's death instantly kills Violet.
Yes. It is a built-in mechanism of mutually assured destruction. One character's secret choice to draw dark magic jeopardizes the physical survival of every single entity on the grid.
They cannot simply walk away from each other and disconnect. They are literally hardwired into a failing system.
And that structural reality completely shatters how we read Xedan's behavior in the recent narrative.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because as a reader, when a male lead starts pushing the female lead away, brooding, and telling her, I'm too dangerous for you, you need to stay away, you naturally roll your eyes.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a trope.
You just assume it is the standard emotional angst we see in every fantasy romance. He feels morally unworthy, or he's worried his political enemies will use her.
But the author of the deep dive demands we look at his distance mechanically. Xedan understands the flow of magic.
He does.
If he knows he's carrying a highly contagious magical rot, and he knows that the bond between them is an open circuit, his emotional distance takes on a completely different context.
He isn't brooding. He is acting as a blown fuse.
Exactly.
He is intentionally trying to introduce massive emotional and physical resistance into the circuit to slow down the current. He is terrified that his mere proximity, reaching out to her mind to check on her, will act as a conductor, pushing the poison across the bridge and into her soul.
And this perfectly demonstrates why multiple perspectives enrich our understanding of a text. What looks like a frustrating communication breakdown on the surface is actually a desperate act of magical containment.
His ultimate act of love is not embracing her. It is acting as an electrical isolator.
He is locking himself in solitary confinement to protect the grid from his own charge.
Which means every single time they do give in, every time they connect through the bond to share a moment of comfort, it is an act of terrifying recklessness. It completely strips away the warm, comforting glamour of the fated mates trope and replaces it with pure mechanical horror.
It makes you want to go back and reread every interaction, doesn't it?
It really does. You want to watch the invisible power flow, looking for the exact moments where the grid surges and the taint slips through.
Well, taking all of this into account, the literary analysis leaves us staring at a very bleak reality for the protagonist. Violet Sorrengail is trapped at the end of a corrupt circuit.
Right, and there seem to be only two ways this resolves based on the mechanics we've discussed.
What are you thinking?
Well, on one hand, Violet might already be fundamentally compromised. She has been on the receiving end of this tainted circuit, acting as the grounding wire for Xedan's venom hunger. The darkness might already be pooling in her own magic without her even realizing it, meaning the battle is already lost.
That's a very real possibility. Alternatively, she might be the only entity on the grid capable of handling the voltage.
Oh, right.
Her raw, unfiltered power might be the only force strong enough to manually break the circuit, or perhaps burn the contagion out of the bonds entirely before the fatal domino effect triggers and kills everyone she is connected to.
It is an unimaginably heavy burden to place on one character. And for you listening, this highlights exactly why pulling apart the mechanics of a magic system can be so rewarding.
It really does reveal so much.
A close, critical reading of how the magic actually functions takes a familiar romantic storyline and reveals massive hidden stakes operating right beneath the surface. We started with two lovers sharing a telepathic bond, and we uncovered a deadly, failing electrical grid threatening to incinerate them all. So what does this all mean for the future of the series?
Well, the author of the post leaves the reader with one final, deeply unsettling provocation to consider on their own.
Oh, what is it?
We have spent this entire time analyzing the corruption flowing into Violet from the outside, traveling down the wire from Aiden. But what if we are mapping the current backward?
Wait, what if we're mapping the current backward if it's not flowing from Xedan to her?
The post poses this question. What if Violet's connection to this dark magic isn't just external?
Oh my God.
What if the grounding wire is so perfectly suited to absorb Venom magic because it was pre-built for it? The analysis suggests we must look at her own bloodline, questioning if she has dormant ties to the venom running in her own veins, connected to whatever dark fate the gods have already designed for her.
That completely flips the entire board. If the grounding wire was inherently built to receive a dark current, she isn't just catching an infection from a faulty appliance.
No, she might be slowly waking up a dormant system inside herself.
The danger isn't just the man she loves at the other end of the bond. The danger is her very nature. When you build a universe where magic is a contagion, the most terrifying thing about an unbreakable bond is that you can't unplug when the poison is already coming from inside the house.